What if I told you the Roman Empire wasn't a nation? It was a corporation, the largest business empire in human history. It had foreign branches, global supply chains, tax farms, logistics networks, profit targets, hostile takeovers. And its CEO didn't sit in a boardroom. He sat on a throne. Rome didn't conquer the world for glory. It acquired it for profit. This is how the empire really worked. Let's start with something nobody talks about. Rome didn't expand because of patriotism. It expanded because war was profitable. Every conquest was an acquisition. Every province was a new revenue stream. Every defeated kingdom became a subsidiary. Think about Gaul. Julius Caesar didn't invade because of threats. He invaded because Gaul had gold mines, timber, iron, grain, resources Rome needed. The conquest paid for itself within a decade, through taxes, through tribute, through selling prisoners as slaves. One military campaign, multiple revenue streams. That's not empire building, that's private equity. Now look at how Rome organized itself. Every province had a specific economic function. Egypt wasn't just conquered territory, it was the grain supplier, the breadbasket. Rome imported millions of tons of Egyptian wheat every year. Free grain kept the population happy. Happy populations don't revolt. Egypt was supply chain optimization. Gaul became the raw materials division. Lumber for ships, iron for weapons, horses for cavalry, minerals for construction. Spain. Mining headquarters, gold, silver, copper. Rome stripped Spanish mountains bare for precious metals. North Africa handled agriculture, olive oil, wine, grain. Asia Minor was the manufacturing center, textiles, pottery, luxury goods. Each region had a role, each region had quotas, each region had profit targets. This wasn't random, this was strategic resource allocation. Rome assessed every new territory for economic value. What can this place produce? What can we extract? How much can we profit? Military conquest was just the acquisition phase. The real money came after, through systematic exploitation, through tax engineering, through what we now call vertical integration. Rome controlled production, transportation, distribution, and taxation, the entire supply chain, from mine to market, from farm to table, and they took a cut at every step. But here's where it gets brilliant. Rome didn't want to manage everything directly, too expensive, too complicated, so they outsourced. They created the publicani, private tax contractors. Here's how it worked. A wealthy Roman businessman would bid for the right to collect taxes in a province, say Syria. He'd pay Rome up front, maybe 10 million sesterces. That's guaranteed revenue for Rome, no collection costs, no administration, just pure profit. Then the publicanus would go to Syria and squeeze every coin he could from the population. If he collected 12 million, he kept the 2 million difference. If he collected 15 million, he kept 5 million. The more he extracted, the more he profited. This created a brutal incentive structure. Tax collectors had every reason to overtax, to confiscate property for unpaid debts, to use violence for collection. Rome didn't care. They got their money up front. What happened after wasn't their problem. This is identical to modern corporate franchising. The parent company gets fees. The franchisee takes all the risk and makes all the profit, or loses everything trying. Rome perfected this model 2,000 years ago. Private profit. Public cost. The publicani got rich. The provinces got crushed. Rome got predictable revenue. And the scale was enormous. Tax farming operated across the entire empire. Hundreds of contractors, thousands of subcollectors, millions of taxpayers. The system generated approximately 1 billion sesterces per year at its peak. That's equivalent to about $15 billion in modern terms, not from production, from extraction. This wasn't a government. This was a profit-maximizing enterprise with shareholders, the Senate, with executives, the consuls and emperors, with quarterly targets, annual tribute with performance reviews, military audits. Every governor had revenue expectations. Every general had profit targets. Fail to deliver, get replaced. But Rome knew something else. You can't extract value without infrastructure, so they built the greatest logistics network in ancient history. 50,000 miles of paved roads, hundreds of ports, thousands of warehouses, military stations every 20 miles. This wasn't public service. This was supply chain investment. Better roads meant faster transport. Faster transport meant fresher goods. Fresher goods meant higher prices. Higher prices meant more profit. The roads also moved armies faster, put down rebellions quicker, collect taxes more efficiently. Every mile of road paid for itself, through increased commerce, through reduced rebellion costs, through optimized tax collection. The ports worked the same way. Rome built massive harbor facilities. Ostia outside Rome, Carthage in Africa, Caesarea in Judea, Alexandria in Egypt. These weren't just docks. They were distribution centers. Grain from Egypt arrived in Ostia, got stored in enormous warehouses, then distributed throughout Italy. The state controlled the warehouses, set the prices, managed the supply. This is vertical integration. Control the source, control the transportation, control the storage, control the distribution, control the profit. Modern corporations call this supply chain management. Rome invented it. And they protected it all with military force. Roman legions weren't just conquest tools. They were security services, protecting trade routes, guarding warehouses, ensuring tax collection. Every legion was a business expense, but a necessary one, because without security, trade stops, revenue drops, the system collapses. Rome spent approximately 60% of its budget on military. That sounds insane, until you realize the military enabled the other 40%. No legions meant no taxes. No taxes meant no empire. The math was simple. Spend money on security, make more money from stability. But Rome added another layer, currency control. They minted all the coins, set the exchange rates, controlled the money supply when they needed more money. They debased the currency, reduced the silver content, mint more coins, instant revenue. Of course, this caused inflation, made the coins worth less, hurt everyone using them, but the state collected taxes in quantity, not value. If bread costs more, that's the baker's problem. Rome still gets its coin count. This is monetary manipulation. And Rome used it constantly, especially during expensive wars. The Punic Wars, the Civil Wars, expansion campaigns. Every military crisis led to currency debasement, more coins in circulation, less silver per coin, hidden taxation through inflation. Now here's where the corporate model broke down: corruption. The Publicani system created massive inequality. Tax contractors became incredibly wealthy, richer than senators, more powerful than governors. They started bribing officials, buying political influence, rigging the bidding process. The system that generated revenue became the system that drained it, because corrupt tax collectors kept more for themselves, paid less to Rome, and the state couldn't stop it. Because the Publicani had bought the referees. Sound familiar? This is regulatory capture, when the regulated control the regulators. Rome experienced it at scale. The infrastructure costs also spiraled. Those 50,000 miles of roads needed maintenance. The ports needed repairs. The warehouses needed staffing. The legions needed payment. At first, the revenue covered it, but as the empire grew, costs grew faster. More borders meant more troops meant more pay, more roads meant more maintenance. The expansion that generated profit started generating losses. Classic corporate overreach. Grow too fast, costs explode. Profit margins collapse. Rome hit this wall by the 3rd century. Then inflation destroyed everything. Centuries of currency debasement caught up. Coins became worthless, prices skyrocketed. The military demanded payment in goods, not coins, because coins couldn't buy anything. The tax system collapsed, because taxes in worthless currency meant nothing. Provinces stopped sending tribute, because why bother? Local governors started keeping revenue, became independent rulers. The corporate structure fragmented. Each province became its own entity. The center lost control. The franchise model failed. When the currency fails, the whole system fails. By the 5th century, Rome couldn't pay its military, couldn't maintain its roads, couldn't control its provinces. Barbarian tribes didn't conquer Rome. They filled a power vacuum. When the parent company collapses, Someone else takes over the territory. The Visigoths in Spain, the Vandals in North Africa, the Franks in Gaul. They didn't destroy Roman infrastructure, they inherited it, used the same roads, same ports, same tax systems, they just changed the branding. New rulers. Same business model. And here's the thing, the Roman model never disappeared, it just evolved. Look at the British East India Company, private corporation, government charter, tax collection rights, military force, controlled all of India, extracted resources, sent profits to London. That's the Publicani model scaled up with better ships. Look at modern multinational corporations. They assess countries for resources, negotiate extraction rights, build infrastructure, control supply chains, minimize taxes through accounting, maximize profits through optimization. That's Rome, with spreadsheets instead of scrolls. Resource extraction companies operate exactly like Roman provinces. Mining corporations enter a country, negotiate rights with the government, extract mineral, ship them out, leave pollution and poverty, take the profits. The country gets some taxes, some jobs, the corporation gets billions. The math favors extraction, always has, since Rome stripped Spain's silver mountains, since Britain drained India's wealth, since modern firms extract lithium and cobalt and oil. The model persists. Because it works for the extractors. The logistics obsession continues too. Amazon's distribution network, Walmart's supply chain, container shipping routes. These are Roman roads and ports, updated for modern scale. The principle hasn't changed. Control the movement of goods, control the profit, invest in infrastructure, reduce transport time, increase efficiency, generate returns. Rome built roads for profit. Modern corporations build distribution networks for profit. Different technology, same strategy. Even the currency manipulation continues. When governments need money, they print more. Quantitative easing, that's debasement. Digital debasement, more money in circulation, each unit worth less. Inflation rises, purchasing power drops, but the government collected its revenue just like Rome. The citizens pay through inflation. The state benefits through expansion. 2,000 years later, same trick, new name. The question isn't whether Rome was a corporation. The question is whether we've ever stopped building empires this way. Extract resources, control logistics, maximize profit, shift costs to the population. That was Rome's model, that's still the model. The uniforms changed, the technology upgraded, the accounting got more sophisticated, but the core system, resource extraction for profit, infrastructure for efficiency, currency manipulation for funding, tax optimization for wealth. It's all still here. Rome didn't fall, it franchised. The barbarian kingdoms ran the same system. The medieval states copied it. The colonial empires perfected it. The modern corporations inherited it. His name was Rome, and it didn't die. It became every corporation that extracts resources, every empire that optimizes logistics, every state that manipulates currency, every system built on extraction and efficiency. Rome never left. It just went global and rebranded as progress.